All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our eLotus webinar today. My name is Donna, and I will be your host and your moderator for today's class. For over 2 decades, eLotus has been your trusted source for TCM continuing education for acupuncturists. We offer the largest selection of online CEU courses with over 3,000 CE hours. If you're new to eLotus, remember to sign up for an eLotus account and receive a free 1 CEU course as a welcome gift. This offer is valid for new accounts only. We are so excited for this weekend's webinar with Dr. Hung-Wei Chang. If you are in need of live CEUs and haven't signed up yet, we encourage you to do so. Learn your patient's health at the palm of their hands. If you're already signed up for this weekend's class, we invite you to send in your palm pictures. Dr. Chang will be doing a few exclusive palm readings for our attendees also this weekend. And you can send this in by visiting our eLotus Facebook page and view the events tab. Then look for Saturday's discussion session and post your picture as a comment under the post. Post your palms, ready, set, high five. Okay, that takes care of everything. And here's a quick introduction of Dr. Chang. Dr. Hung-Wei Chang is currently the chairperson of Traditional Chinese Medical Essence Association. In his private practice at Heng Yuan Tang Chinese Medical Clinic, he treats over 70 patients daily. His specialty is in post-stroke and brain injury patients. His treatment concept includes balancing the 5 zong organs with current medical knowledge to improve the patient's overall health. The focus is to not merely alleviate symptoms, but to reestablish balance in the body so they don't have to seek medical attention. And today's class is a preview to what you'll be expecting for this weekend. It's Intro to TCM Palm Diagnosis and Organ Balance Acupuncture. Just a heads up, this class was originally taught in Mandarin Chinese. And what we have done is we looked for someone to help translate and also do a voiceover for you. And we've also added subtitles so you can watch this in silence or you can listen. The choice is up to you. And so let's begin the video.
We already have some practitioners reading their own palms during the break. Everything starts with the hands. In your clinic, when you ask for your patient's hands, you can take a look at the palm before taking the pulse. You can understand a bit more about the patient. We are Chinese medicine practitioners. We are not fortune tellers that you see on the streets. Reading the palm gives you an advanced idea of the patient's constitution. We still need to rely on your Chinese medicine diagnosis to determine the treatment strategy. We are definitely not fortune tellers that can prescribe herbs from reading the palm. I want to get this important idea across to you first. Let's start with our TCM palm diagnosis today. I would like to thank my teacher, Dr. Su, who taught me what I know today. What I will teach today are all from him and from his book. This is his book. There are 3 major components to pay attention to when reading the palm. First is the shape, wood type, metal type, etc. Next are the lines. Third is the color. Our focus today is on the lines. Look at how thick this book is. It's impossible to finish teaching them all today. I have organized my lecture today to present the most important essence of palm diagnosis for you. It can help you greatly in your practice. Today's lecture will be all about palm lines. Through palm lines, what can we first find out about a person? Personality, thoughts, and God-given talents. We can know if the person is logical or more sentimental. We can also find out if they are artistic. What profession is suitable for them? We can also tell if someone overthinks or overworks. We can also tell the basic personality of the patient. Do you think personality can affect one's health? Most definitely. Most entrepreneurs don't have good digestive systems. If you know the personality, you can advise your patient on how to be healthy. Sometimes herbs are not enough. You need to teach your patients. I remember treating this patient in a temple once when I was volunteering. He had a short lifeline on one hand, but the career lines were obvious on both hands, and one was particularly long. My conclusion is that due to excessive work, he was ruining his health. Upon asking him questions, I was right. He had cirrhosis from overwork. How can I help this patient? Of course, giving herbs will help. But if you don't convince him to change his habits, he can never attain optimal health. To help him attain total health, you should advise him on how to change his lifestyle instead of continually coming back for herbs and acupuncture. Through palm reading, we can unveil the personality. Is anyone pushing buttons for me? The PowerPoint is going crazy. Wow, there may be a greater force helping me with my lecture. Grace, Sam, can you give me the mouse, please? Why does the slide jump back and forth? Yes, I was using the mouse. First, we will know the personality and their talents. Palm reading can also unveil fortune, life, and disasters, but since that's not related to TCM diagnosis and health, we will not cover that section today. It's said that those who can tell the fortune will have to endure disasters, so let's not get into that. We shouldn't do fortune telling either. Some fortune tellers can tell you at what age you may experience what. We don't want to get into that kind of reading either. That's not our focus. I will mention it and you can study more if you want. The point of today is to understand the person's constitution and the disease. What are the diseases that are likely to be associated with what lines? And then we can help them through Chinese medicine. The third important point is health and hereditary components. This theory part discusses why palm lines can be used for diagnosis. You can read this yourself. Basically, it says that cortical cells are reflected on the palms. I noticed that I didn't have a career line when I was working at the hospital. The career line became more and more clear when I started my own clinic. There is also such a line called the travel line. Those folks will never be at home, but traveling worldwide. Some people draw an analogy of the brain like a wireless control center. It can receive signals. From the lines and the colors on the palm, we can predict some events. But again, that's not our focus today. Yami Shengfa, a fortune-telling book in the Song Dynasty, describes, lines on the palm are like rings of a tree. If the lines are good overall, the life of the person is believed to be smooth and auspicious. It's not good to have no lines on the hands. It's better to have lines than no lines. A good line is defined as a narrow, deep line. Deep and narrow. If it's thick and shallow, I want to emphasize this. Every patient that walks through your door not only wants to improve their health physically, but it would be great if you can also provide them emotional happiness. Even if you don't know how to treat the physical problem, you can at least treat the heart. Some of my students and patients have a line that show they have to work hard all their lives. I always ask them if they feel that they have to work harder than others in order to succeed. They would always go into the details of how much harder they have to work and how unfair it is. I always tell them, because of their hard work, they will succeed while others won't. You can encourage these people who are destined to work hard to make them feel better. You can't tell them, oh, your life sucks because you are destined to work a lot. Tell them the positive, which is that they will be successful if they work hard. Those who cut corners and don't work hard are not likely to attain continuous success in life. You have to utilize your findings to give patients positive feedback. Because there is no absolute good or bad in this universe. You have to help these patients find their direction in life. It doesn't matter if the destiny in one's life is to work more than others. As long as they are successful in what they do, that's what matters. Just tell them not to focus and complain about having more work, but focus on the result they can achieve. They may complain they can't get an A in school unless they study hard, unlike the others. But directing their focus on eventually getting the A is what matters. You may see bad lines. That's okay. You can give them good advice in order to avoid the bad. Do you understand? There are people with good lines that die early. There are also people with bad lines who enjoy longevity. Much of it has to do with what direction and your outlook on life. Because there is no definite good or bad. You can take a look at your own palm. Whether it's good or bad doesn't matter. Let's look at this example here. Remember I said that thin and deep lines are good? Shallow and thick are not as good. Let's look at the palm on the right. Oh, the page is gone again. Let's look again at the picture on the right. Here from the top to bottom you have the heart line, head line, and lifeline. Which one of these lines looks deeper and thinner to you? Can you tell? One of the lines is deeper and narrow, the other two are not as clear. This means the two lines that are not as clear are weaker. Can you tell if your own lines are deep and thin or shallow and thick? There is a deep and thick line on the picture to the right. On the left you see one thin and shallow line. Can you see? The line that is not as clear and shallow is the head line. This is also the logic line, so what does that mean? Not that she is not smart, she is just not as logical. Don't say to the patient, "You are brainless." Provide positive feedback. You can say that they lose their senses easily or are not logical at times. So before you make any decisions, it's best to consult elder friends for advice. Understand? We as practitioners should say nice things to our patients. Not to lie to them, but rather to direct them towards positive thinking. Be careful what you say. I never say the word old to my patients. A lot of people are afraid of that word. I would only say mature or wise or with age. I would never use the word old. You would not tell the patient they are stupid or anything to that effect. You need to say you are likely to make the wrong decisions. You tend to lose your senses. You should offer some direction for the patient. If they come as a couple, advise them to consult one another before making decisions. The spouse will be happy you say that too. They will thank you. In these pictures, you can clearly see the thick and thin lines. Let me introduce the three most important lines on the hand. Three major lines. Chinese medicine is very philosophical. You all know about Tian, Ren, and Di, which translate into heaven, man, and earth. Our five Zhang as well. Kidney Shi represents the earth's energy and water. Harmony between fire and water leads to the creation of man. Mother Earth is home to man and source of all food. What's heaven? What provides energy? The sun. There's heaven, man, and earth. Acupuncture depth also involves heaven, man, and earth. It's the same philosophy. The first line on top is called the heaven line. The middle one is the man line, and the earth line on the bottom. The upper line represents heaven, the emperor and the father. It determines a person's destiny in life and their social status. Take a look at yours quickly. Is it deep or shallow? This relates to TCM. If the heaven line represents the emperor and the father, which Zhang or Fu would this line represent? Kidney? Which organ is heaven? The emperor? Lung, heart, kidney, liver? Heart is the emperor. The sun provides energy and belongs to the element of fire, correct? So does the heart. Would you use the mouse as a pointer so our webinar attendees can see where you are pointing? Sure. No wonder Sam made the arrow so big. Okay, thank you. Heaven is fire and is the heart. It supplies the body with energy. Blood is pumped throughout the body and carries chi or energy with it. This top line is the line that indicates one's heart function. Heart is in charge of blood and the vessels. The middle line represents the man and determines intelligence and logic. It's also known as the logic line. It can also determine whether one is successful or rich in life. People who are more logical when faced with difficulties in life can usually find sensible solutions compared to those who are driven by emotions only. This is why in Chinese culture, there is a saying that men who have duanzhang, a line that cuts across the center of the hand, will have a life like an emperor. Good emperors are very logical and will always make rational decisions for the greater good of the country, even if it means having to kill their favorite concubine. But there is also a saying that women with a straight line like that can fortune for their husbands. Why? Will these women kill their husbands? Those women are very logical and may not even listen to their husbands. They may fight with their husbands and not even think they are right all the time. But remember, in ancient China, wives must be submissive to their husbands. Their husbands would probably die from frustration. In ancient China, women are not encouraged to be rational or think independently. They just have to be submissive. But today's society is different. Any woman with a straight line in the middle may be very successful in whatever she pursues. She may even abandon her family in order to achieve her goal or life purpose, or put work first above everything else. In summary, this middle line, the logic line, represents man as well as wealth in life. The bottom one is the earth and represents the minister and the mother. It's in charge of the lifespan. Which Zhang or Fu would this line represent? Lifespan. Remember why we are here? From our parents and also the process of growing that I discussed earlier. This organ is directly related to growth and maturation and how long one will live. Yes, it's the kidney. Those with a short lifeline indicates kidney deficiency or weak constitution. Understand? Can you see this bottom line, our webinar friends? These three lines develop while one is in the womb. Besides these three lines and the lines formed when you make a fist or other regular movements of the hand, all other lines are considered extra lines. To review, you have the top line, which is the heart line, middle one, head line. For the webinar people, here is the heart line, head line, and lifeline. There is also the bagua on the hand. Li, Shun, Zhen, Zheng, Kun, Dui, Xian, Kan. Knowing this facilitates the description of line locations. If you already know the gua positions, then it's great. If not, you can always write them down and refer to them later. Li, Shun, Zhen, Zheng, Kun, Dui, Xian, Kan. If you don't remember it, it's fine. I will keep showing this picture throughout the class today. The Ba Gua names are important to know for location reference when discussing the lines. Let's go into the basic principles of palm lines. First, if the three lines appear clear without disruptions, then it indicates a life of blessing and fortune. The principles of good versus bad lines include the following. Good lines are clear, thin, and deep. Xu, as in Xu Nu, are the beautiful young girls chosen to be future concubines. Xu means clear, without blemishes. So Xu on the palm indicates little or no miscellaneous lines outside of the three main ones. A good line is clear, thin, and deep. These three are the most important factors that make up a good line. Next is a line that is straight without interruptions. It's not broken or too curvy. Like the stock market chart is also no good. Sometimes you will see adjacent lines next to or branching out from the main lines. If those branching lines are facing upward towards the fingertips, then it indicates positiveness, growth, and prosperity. Going down is generally not as good. These are branching lines. Sometimes there are miscellaneous lines. It's also a bad sign, for example, if miscellaneous lines form a chain-like line or an island. I will show you picture samples later. Right now you can take a look at your own hand to see if you have clear, thin, and deep lines. Do you have straight or curvy lines? These are the basic principles. Some of you may wonder what's the difference between Chinese and Western palm reading. Here I have summarized the main differences between the two. Chinese palm reading has three main lines: heaven, man, and earth. Western palm reading has the heart-love line, head-logic line, and the life line. In Western palm reading, there is an additional line, the career line, that is commonly mentioned. So again, in Chinese palm reading, there are a total of 21 lines, and the three main ones are heaven, man, and earth lines. Most people usually have this question now: should we check the right or left hand? There is a saying in Chinese that goes like this: man is the left and woman is the right. How about the gender-neutral people, or the transgender? Does man on the left and woman on the right still make sense? What do you think? Let's take a look. Lots of theories, including the straight logic line in men, can be explained differently nowadays. You should understand the real meaning. It's impossible that women with straight headlines indicate their husbands will die. How horrible! The husbands may suffer severe liver Qi stagnation from the wives having opinions of their own. According to Western theories, the prenatal state is shown on the hand that is not preferred for writing or doing things. If I am right-handed, my left hand would be my prenatal state, so my right hand would show my postnatal state. The hand that I don't use regularly is my prenatal state. Another example: if my career line is excellent on my left hand but horrible on the right, that may mean I have the potential to be successful in my career, but for certain reasons I am not. Maybe I haven't cultivated enough connections, etc. Or on my left hand, my lifeline may be very long, but on my right, it's short. That usually means your constitution is strong, but somehow you manage to mess up your health with improper diet or lifestyle. So you must analyze both hands. Remember that the prenatal destiny is on the hand you don't usually use, and postnatal reality is on the hand you regularly use. Am I clear? The Chinese saying of man on the right, woman on the left is not so accurate. And since you are living in America, are you more Western or more Chinese? The body is Chinese, but environment is Western. Is your patient male, female, or transgender, or others? Which hand indicates what with the transgenders in Thailand? Let's follow the prenatal and postnatal hand principle. I feel we can attain the most unbiased information and judgment. The best way is to look at both hands together and compare it to one another. Along the main line, there may be some branch lines. It's just like there are highways next to freeways. Yesterday, while on the road, I asked Grace what's drive. She said it's a smaller road than street. Same with palm lines. There are main lines and secondary branch lines. Here is the introduction on branch lines. It's impossible that a person only has 3 lines on a hand. There will be branch lines. Let's go into what they mean. The first type is this one, upward branching lines. See the thicker black line? That's the main line. There are a few branch lines going upwards. Do we think the upward branching lines are good or bad? Of course it's good. It's going upwards. Upward lines are auspicious lines. Good lines with good energy. It has a strengthening meaning to the line it's attached to. Signifies an improvement or betterment. If this branch line is next to the lifeline, then it assists to make your health better. How about the downward line? Do you think it's good or bad? Of course, bad. It signifies misfortune. It damages or destroys the effect of the main line. I see you all looking at your hands now. This one is the sister line. A sister line is a line that is running parallel to the main line. Do you think it's good or bad? Everyone wants good brothers and sisters, right? They are there to help you in times of need. In general, the sister line is a good line. But do you have bad brothers or sisters? The sister line is not always a good sign. It depends on how the sister line looks. If it's broken or shows other miscellaneous lines, then it's actually bad. The basic principles are there. Overall, the sister line is good and can enhance the main line. If a short lifeline accompanies a sister line, then the longevity should be extended. A short lifeline indicates a poor body constitution, and with the sister line, the person won't be as sick. A sister line next to the career line indicates even more success professionally. Am I clear? Let's see, for example. Let me enlarge this picture. Can you see there is a lifeline here? There is another line here. See? Lifeline. The sister line is right next to it. Got it? This is what a sister line looks like. If it points to the middle finger, then it's a career line. But since it's parallel to the lifeline and doesn't point to the middle finger, then it's considered a sister line. Let's take a look at another picture. This one is the same. There is a lifeline over here. But it's broken. Can you see? Luckily, there is a sister line next to it to assist. Let me enlarge it more. Is it more clear now? Lifeline here. Sister line here. His lifeline originally ended here. Luckily, there is a parallel line running along it on the side. Got it? Don't say, your life is short, but luckily you have a sister line, so you are fine. Hahaha. Don't say that. We need to say more positive things. You should say something like, your constitution is not as good as others, but luckily you have the ability to overcome misfortune. Got it? Let's continue. This picture is clearer. Can you see this clearly? Do you see the lifeline and also the sister line next to it? Yes? Okay. Next. See this? A very clear sister line. This is the lifeline. Running along it is a sister line. This means the constitution is good. Understand? Is it clear? Now let's move on to the next one, branch line. Do you think branch lines are good or bad? Bad? Ha ha ha. Is it all bad? Going upwards is good, yes. Branch lines can be good or bad. It depends on the direction. The basic nature is good because most are upwards in nature. Understand? If you see a branch line on the lifeline, it indicates some sort of turning point. For example, it can be a decision to opt for surgery or not. Should he or she receive a certain treatment? You will notice some lifelines may split into two, one shorter and one longer. During that time is when the person must decide what they want to do. If the branch lines appear in the lifeline, it indicates a turning point in health. What does it mean if it appears on the logic line? It may be that you wanted to make a decision, but now there are more choices to confuse you. If branch lines appear on the logic line or at the end of the love-marriage line, that's usually not a good sign. Do you understand what I mean? The branch line at the end of the marriage line means that marriage after a long period of time may not continue. What do you think is the cause? Two paths, right? Perhaps a new lover? In general, branch lines are good, but it depends on where you see the line. On the lifeline means there may be a turning point for that person's health. On the love-marriage line, it means there may be choices. Understand? Here's what's called a fork line. Same logic as the branch line where upwards is good, downwards is bad. Next is the tassel line. Also, there's the bushy hairline. Please check to see if the picture on your lecture notes matches what you see on the screen here. I am not sure if what's in your notes is correct. I showed my wife the bushy hairline and she said it looks like fake eyelashes. So tassel line, as indicated, has many different small lines at the end. Do you think this is good or bad? Looks like an ugly caterpillar, right? No good? Did you look ahead in your notes? By nature, it's not a good line. But in certain circumstances, it's good. It's a good indication if it's on a certain line. Can you guess which line? Okay, multiple choice. Love line, logic line, or lifeline. On which line mentioned above is it positive to see a tassel line? Love line. What? Yes, love line. Tassel lines on the love line indicate these people are very friendly and helpful. They help everyone and therefore are very popular and have lots of friends. Usually these people are very helpful with everything and everybody. But it's only if it appears on the love line that it's a positive sign. Tassel lines in general destroy or lessen the nature of that particular line, except the love line. Whether appearing in the beginning or the end of the love line, tassel lines mean this person is sincere and helpful. Those are the type of people, when they watch the news and see any injustice, will be upset and want to do something about it. Those with singular clear lines at the end of the love line means they only want to just take care of themselves. They are not interested in involving themselves with other people's business. They don't like to help other people. If you need help, you can check their hands to see if they have tassel lines. If so, they are more likely to help. Understand? Bushy hairlines have a very similar meaning to tassel lines. If it's on the love line, it's positive. On any other line, it's negative. In conclusion, branch lines include tassel lines and bushy hairlines. Let's take a look at one of my students' hand. Do you see the love line? The top line. Look here at the end. Do you see the tassel lines? Can you tell? Both the beginning and end of the love line have lots of tassel lines. The next picture is clearer. Let me expand it and show you. Here. Here, do you see it? Here is the love line and there are fine lines around it. Take a look at your own hands. I will also analyze some of your palms later in the afternoon. Do you see a lot of tassel lines at the end of your love line? The more tassel lines you have, the more you like to participate, socialize, and help others. They are more enthusiastic and eager to do things. The more the tassel lines, the more interaction with people this person will have. This type of person has better interpersonal skills and is generally friendlier. With no tassel lines, these folks prefer to go home after work and don't like to socialize. Is this good or bad? Not really. This helps us understand what type of a person this patient is. Broken lines also belong to the category of branch lines. Is this good or bad? Broken lines, can that be good? Of course not. It signifies a bad sign. If a line breaks or disappears, it signifies failure. But before the line ends, if there is another line that continues on the side, like the picture on the bottom here. See how the second line continues while the first one on top stops. This signifies there may be some trouble but will not result in failure. Some people's careers line is like this. One line ends and another on the side keeps going. What does that mean? This means they may have a career change. If both lines appear together, that means they are running two careers. Some lines end first before another appears. That probably means one career ends first, then another starts again. Understand? Broken lines are usually bad. But if the broken line has another line next to it that continues, then that means there won't be failure, just difficulties. Next are the wave lines. I said earlier that lines are better if they are straight. Do you think wave lines are good? Usually not. Broken wave lines, of course, are not good either. We conclude the section on branch lines. When we look at the palms, the first thing to look for are the main lines. Look at the location, shape, then the branch lines. Then check for miscellaneous lines. That's enough analysis. You will know. Let's talk about the miscellaneous lines or patterns. The first one is a triangle pattern. This is a good pattern. When you see triangles next to a line, remember that it's a good sign. Independent triangles like the left one here are the best. The one on the right here is a triangle formed by several lines. It's not as good, but still good. Next, we have a square. If triangles are good, what do you think about squares? Basically, it's also good. Sometimes you will see a box in between the broken lines. That's a good sign that they can overcome a particular difficulty. Squares are good signs. Squares signify that the person can get out of bad situations. How do you feel about this line? Bad. A mesh-like pattern is a bad sign. It lessens the health of that particular position. I am referring to the Bagua positions. The Bagua locations are not the point I want to emphasize in this class, but you at least should know such positions exist on the hand. This person has a mesh-like pattern. Can you see it? It's here. Is it clear? Lots of vertical and horizontal lines. This is not good for the Gen position of the hand. Let's continue with the miscellaneous patterns and lines. Short blockage line. Do you think a short line blocking the main line is good or bad? Of course not. It suddenly blocks the path. Short blockage line is also known as obstacle line. It's an unlucky sign. It decreases the power of the main line it's blocking. How about a cross pattern? Like this, with a cross. It's not good either. There's an exception when it appears on the Shun position. It's lucky if it's there. In all other positions, it's a bad sign. How about a star pattern? Star pattern is not good on the life, logic, or career lines. Everywhere else is okay. Take a look at your hands. It's kind of hard to find a star pattern. This can serve as a reference to let you know such patterns exist, although it's not seen often. Next, we have circles. It's basically bad unless it's on the Tai Yang position right below the ring finger. Spots. Spots on the face or body generally are not good signs. Same on the palm. If you see spots near certain lines or certain position, it signifies that the position is more susceptible to problems. If you see the spot pattern on the lifeline, then the health will be affected. as spot patterns negatively impacts the power of the line. The next section is important. It's an easy pattern to recognize and it has a big significance. It's a pattern shaped like an island called island pattern. An island pattern appears in the middle of a line. There may be multiple island patterns. When multiple island patterns appear together, we call it chain pattern. They are all bad. Check your palms to see if you have an island or chain pattern. Let's talk about strokes. If you see islands on the love line, it indicates there is some problem with the cardiovascular system. But don't rely just on this. The more signs you see, the better. For example, you may see the crease on the ear. It's known as Frank's sign, indicating cardiovascular disease. This sign is more accurate if the patient is under 65 years of age. If the patient has Frank's sign, an island on the palm, and has left Zun pulse abnormalities such as weakness, thin, or choppy pulse, then you can almost be certain there is some cardiovascular issues, or the person is susceptible to it. You can ask the patient what brings them in today, or you can have them fill out a symptoms form, or you can turn my symptoms chart into a patient chart for them to fill out. Is there shortness of breath? Is there bloating after meals? Do you have numbness of the extremities? Let the patient check off all the symptoms. You can get an overall clear sign of the constitution. An island pattern is an important sign. It's a bad sign, and when it appears on a line, it damages the health of the line. If there are multiple islands forming a line, then it's worse. But if you see two lines crossing creating an island, then it doesn't count. It can cross like this and then like this. You must be able to recognize island patterns in the clinic. Chain patterns are more severe than islands. The meaning is the same as island patterns, but the condition is more severe. You must learn how to recognize this chain pattern too. I will show you a picture now. Can you see that the lines are not very straight and it's also broken? There is also no thin, clear, or deep feel. It looks a bit messy. Let me show you the island pattern. Can you see? There are so many islands. Love line here. Let me use the mouse. Here are many islands. They look like eyes too. Here is the logic line. There are also many islands here. Both the systems in which these two lines represent are compromised. Poor cardiovascular system. This patient actually came in to see me for sudden deafness. Many people have eye stroke, ear stroke. These strokes mean that there is obstruction in the vessels. Sudden deafness to me is also a cardiovascular problem. Not only does this patient suffer from sudden deafness, he is also a very neurotic patient. This patient had dark complexion. He worried constantly and had anxiety. His logic line was curved, indicating he's not a very logical type of person. You can see the island pattern on him, right? Again, his lines are not very clear or straight. Don't give this type of patient more negative feedback. More positive ones would do him good. For example, tell him to exercise regularly and come back for checkups, or encourage him to go to church to find spiritual peace, etc. Give positive feedback. Palm lines can actually change. Okay. We have covered the three major lines: branch lines, and miscellaneous lines and patterns. Let's move on to the second section of today's class. Okay, let's continue. Now we will go into detail about the three major lines. I will discuss the basic concepts for analysis. I will also briefly teach you what age is around where on the lifeline. You are just starting to learn this now. It's impossible to tell what age something will happen. It won't be accurate, so don't say anything about this. But at least you have an overview. For analysis, we need to know the location. Second, we need to determine the shape. Third, check for branch and miscellaneous lines and patterns. Every line follows this principle for analysis. Location first. Shape second. Then good or bad branch lines. Finally, the indications of miscellaneous patterns. Analyzing lines becomes easy when you take into consideration these 4 factors. Let's take a look at the lifeline first. It's this line here. Where does it start? It starts in between Shun and Zhen positions. Then it curves down along the Zhen and Zhen positions. Lifeline indicates a person's vitality or constitution. It's the kidney Shi, and of course also how healthy the person is. We need to take into consideration the thickness and depth. A good lifeline is one that is deep, long, and continuous. A broken lifeline indicates poor constitution. This ties to the earlier part of my lecture. If the lifeline is bad, what kind of symptoms can you suspect? Kidney stores essence, rules the bones, grasps the Shi downwards, and belongs to the water element. If it's deficient, what symptoms can you expect? Development delay, slow growth. For men, spermaturia, premature ejaculation, impotence. For women, leukorrhea, dysmenorrhea, irregular menses, even infertility. Both can have low back pain, leg weakness, edema. So simply looking at the lifeline, you can come to these possible conclusions. If the lifeline is shallow, faint, broken, etc., you can suspect these signs. Of course, you have to take the pulse too. We are not fortune tellers. You can't come to the conclusion of kidney deficiency just because the line is faint or broken. You must also use TCM diagnosis to come to a conclusion, the complete picture to be able to determine what points and herbs to use. How can you tell which part of the lifeline you are on at different ages? Find the thenar eminence radial to the lifeline. Find the center point on the thenar eminence, here in the middle. From this point, draw 4 lines to the fingers like shown. 1 line should point to the outside side of the pinky. And 3 more lines in between the ring, middle, and index fingers. Directly horizontal is age 51. I will not go on to further detail about this. Is everything clear? Where should the lifeline be? If we were to draw a vertical line from the middle finger, and the curve of the lifeline passes that line, then it's a strong and good lifeline. That's considered a wide lifeline. If the curve falls radial to the middle finger line, then the lifeline is considered narrow. This is how you determine wide versus narrow. Next, where does it start and end? If it starts from the Shun position, then it's considered high. Where is the Shun position? Right here below the index finger. It's considered low if it starts from the Zhen position, which is around the palmar side of the Hegu, Li 4. If it's higher, it means the person is more proactive and aggressive. If it's lower, then it means the person is more pessimistic and weaker in constitution. In conclusion, a wide and narrow lifeline means the size in which the life encompasses. The larger the area, the better. This signifies the general health and energy. I will show you a few pictures later. So again, the wider the lifeline, the more energy the person has and the healthier they are. Narrowness means less energy and weaker constitution. You can give them kidney tonic herbs. You can modify the formula according to their symptoms. If it's very narrow, then it's kidney Jing deficiency. Let me show you a few pictures. When you examine the palms, both hands must be open with fingers stretched, not curled. If your hand is curled, then the lines are not accurate. The lifeline may pass the middle finger. These two pictures can show you clearly what's narrow and wide. What do you think of this person's palm on the left picture? Wide or narrow? What about the picture on the right? Does the lifeline touch the vertical line? Narrow, right? This one is wide. Understand? Once again, if the lifeline touches or passes the vertical line drawn from the middle finger, it's wide. Not touching is narrow. Wide signifies strength, stronger constitution, and Jing. Wide. Let's look at this next picture. We just finished talking about the location of the lifeline, its starting and ending areas, what area it should encompass. Let's talk about the shape next. Length indicates the strength of the kidney Shi. How strong is the body to fight against different diseases? Kidney is related to the immune system. Kidney rules the growth and development. It's closely related to the reproductive, urinary, and immune systems. Other than looking at the length of the lifeline, another place to determine kidney Shi strength is to look at the philtrum. The longer and deeper the philtrum, the stronger the kidney Jing. If the lifeline is clear, long, and extends to the base of the palm near the radial artery, it means this person will live a fairly disease-free life. If it's short and without any sister line, then the lifespan may be short. Don't blatantly tell the patient that they have a short life if the lifeline is short. You should say, your constitution is not as good, so you need to come back more often so I can make your body stronger. I can help you regain health and have a better quality of life. But if the lifeline has a career line next to it for support, also if the thumb is big and the hand is thick, this means the person can still enjoy longevity. When the career line is longer than the lifeline, it indicates that this person lives to work and that it's a big part of their life. They generally don't like to waste time and not work. They live to work and find the meaning of life in their work. The lives of these people are defined by their work, and they won't necessarily have a short life. Got it? Let's take a look at some pictures. Can you see which lifeline is long and which is short? Let's take a look. Is the left side longer or the right? Sorry, I mean look at the left picture. Is the lifeline shorter in the picture to your left or right? The left picture shows a short lifeline while the right one is long. Take a look at yours. Some people will have different lengths on both hands. These are two different people. These two are from the same person. Where is the start of the lifeline here? From here, but it disappears quickly. Can you see? That's it. Short, right? Very. The other hand is a bit longer. Let's see what condition she came in for. She is only 22, a student. She first came in 2016 for irregular menstruation. She is a TCM student. In 2018 and 2019, she came back again for the same condition. Shortened periods. Interval is 28 to 30 and the duration is 5 to 7. In these few years, here is what I found her pulses to be. Left qi is weak, indicating kidney deficiency. What herbal formula did I prescribe? A kidney yin tonic formula with dangui, shu di huang, etc. Also, I tonified her blood as well, since all gynecological formulas with blood tonics will work better. From the lifeline, you can tell her kidney jing is deficient. Through the palm, the pulse, and patient's description of symptoms, you can come to a diagnosis, an herbal and acupuncture prescription. When you see a weak lifeline, you may consider using these formulas. The chart I am showing now is the same one I showed in the morning. Liu Wei Di Huang Wan, Ba Wei Di Huang Wan, Yu Gui Wan, Zhuo Gui Wan, and add Si Wu Tang for women. As for points, use Tai Shi, Key 3, Fu Liu, Key 7. For infertility, add Shihai, CV6, Guan Yuan, CV4, Zhongji, CV3, and Shenshu, BL23. You can decide on the extent of the treatment and collect fees accordingly. The length of the lifeline can indicate the strength of the kidney sheet. Shallow or deep also belong to the category of shape. Deep and straight is the best. Deep indicates better brain function. How does this relate to TCM? In Chinese culture, we have the Lunar Calendar Farmer's Almanac. It tells you the days most suitable for certain activities. Along with this is a small pamphlet. In it, there is an ad on educating the public on kidney deficiency manifesting in forgetfulness, turbid urine, neurasthenia, difficulty in sexual performance, etc. Then next to it is a name of a clinic. On the topic of neurasthenia, since kidney rules the bones, brain is the sea of marrows. So of course kidney is related to the brain. That is why the lifeline is related to brain functions. I sometimes use kidney tonic points and herbs for stroke patients. It helps to restore some of their physical functions. If it's thin, clear, deep, it means the person is full of energy and mentally active. This person likes to think. If the line is shallow and thick, usually these people prefer physical work more than using their brain. This is the analysis of deep and shallow for the lifeline. Now let's talk about the branch line. You already know what branch lines are, the most commonly seen one being the sister line. If your sister line next to the lifeline is the same thickness, we call that sister line ancestor line. This is inherited from your ancestors. It's also known as life benefactor line or the life protection line. The sister line helps this person's constitution be stronger and more stern in personality. Also, they tend to have people voluntarily helping in times of need. But if the lifeline is short, then the sister line's supporting effect decreases. The sister line is not necessarily good if it's thicker than the lifeline. If it's thick or thicker than the lifeline, that means the person is more stubborn, wild, and free. They also like alcohol and sex. Does this make sense? Have you noticed if a man is rich, we have a lot of these examples in Taiwan. What would they do? They usually have a lot of women and drink a lot of alcohol. Next is the soulmate line. It's a short line radial to the lifeline that runs parallel to it. This means the person will have at least one soulmate in their life. But it doesn't count if you see an island or cross patterns. The basic concept is that good branch lines add on to the meaning of the main line, while bad branch lines decrease it. Let's take a look at this person's palms. Do you see the sister line next to the lifeline? To the right, do you see this short line? This is the soulmate line. Who doesn't crave love in life? These are all sister lines. Let's conclude this section and take a break. Let's take a look at your own palms, and we will try to find 5 or more attendees with island patterns. Also, we want to look for chain pattern palms. If you have these, please volunteer so Dr. Chang can analyze your palms later. We will find the most typical island and chain pattern to show everyone later. Dr. Chang talked extensively on the sister line. I have a very clear sister line if anyone wants to see what it should look like. I encourage you to look at your neighbor's hands. It's always clearer when you look at someone else's rather than your own. You can start analyzing each other, and if you see something you don't understand or something significant, Dr. Chang can help. Let's break for 10 minutes.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us for this preview. I hope you enjoyed the class and find out that you may or may not have. Am I on? Yes, I'm on. Can you hear me? If you have a soulmate, let me know. Those are these things that Dr. Chang taught during the class are very useful for the clinic because it can give you an insight of which organs are need a little help, and then you can prescribe herbal formulas. That's what he does, and we hope that you can use that in your clinic too. The full weekend class will be this upcoming weekend. On Saturday, we have the palm reading one, the palm diagnosis, and then on Sunday, Dr. Chang's going to be talking about infertility. So we hope to see you guys there. The infertility one is a really good class. He talks about what instructions you can give your patients or clients on how some great tips that aren't mentioned anywhere else on how to have a baby. So we'll see you guys then. You can sign up on eLotus.org. If you want to rewatch today's class, you can go to our website tomorrow on our TCM Wisdom Tube. It will be there as well as on our YouTube channel. Notes for this weekend will be available, although they weren't here today, so you can rewatch the class if you miss any parts. Okay, guys, thank you so much, and we will see you this weekend. Bye.